And one last
Ooh,
one,
that's
and we're
nasty.
gonna
Ooh,
wrap
that's
up the show. Harrison,
merciful.
this is a WWE one. You don't have to get into
Yeah,
it if you don't
I'm
want
going to
to.
be muted, sir.
More controversial. Now, on the left side of the picture, there's the Click, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, rest his soul, Scott Hall, Diesel, Kevin Nash. And on the right side, you have the Montreal Screwjob between Bret the Hitman Hart and Shawn Michaels, November 9th, 1997 Survivor Series. Which is more controversial? Now, the Click on the left side of the picture, I believe it was May of 1996, champ, if I'm not mistaken, at
Mhm.
Madison Square Garden. This is the curtain call. After a match, I think it was Shawn Michaels versus Diesel, all four of them. Shawn Michaels, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, and Triple H all joined together. They broke character, which was unprecedented at the time in wrestling. I gotta go with the curtain call because I love watching the WWE Legend documentaries and when doing all my homework and research on this. To me, it was more controversial because something that's never really happened before. And I remember the quote from Ric Flair in which he said, "The Click was an insult to our business." Had they have done that in the 70s or early 80s, all four of them, pardon me for my language, wouldn't gotten the shit beaten out of them back in those days. So, I mean, and the only person that suffered the consequences regarding the curtain call was Triple H. Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, they were going to go to WCW, Ted Turner's WCW. Shawn Michaels was the champion at that point, so they let Shawn off with a warning. As for Triple H, he had to start back from square one, and it cost him the opportunity at King of the Ring. It was supposed to go to him, not Stone Cold Steve Austin, who I have considered the greatest of all time. And obviously, when Austin had this opportunity, my favorite wrestling moment, yes, Austin 316 said, "I just whooped your ass" after the match against Jake the Snake Roberts. When you look at the Survivor Series, Bret the Hitman Hart, Shawn Michaels, Bret, Shawn, if you do the homework, the research, they had a really heated rivalry between the two. Um, Bret, at first, he didn't mind dropping off the belt to Shawn, but according to Bret, Shawn said, "Well, I appreciate that, but just to let you know, I'm not willing to do the same for you." If you also watch the documentary Wrestling with Shadows, Bret Hart is having a conversation with Vince, and Bret wants to win the match, but he doesn't have to necessarily beat Shawn. He wants to end it off in a smosh, an outside interference, and then the next night on Monday Night Raw, Bret can drop the title, head on to WCW, which he was about to do eventually, because after that match, he was about to join WCW and get more money than what he got in the WWF. I think the rivalry because of Bret and Shawn, and then after the Montreal Screwjob, in which Bret did not tap out. Let's just be clear. Bret Hart did not tap out in that match. And then after the match, Bret Hart knocks the bleep out of Vince McMahon. Just only one punch knocks the bleep out of him. So, champ, I'm going to let you go, man. Which one was more controversial?
The Montreal Screwjob. Although they broke kayfabe in the Madison Square Garden, you can pretty much say people these days look back at it and say, well, modern wrestling fans could look back at it and say, well, that wasn't really too bad. Now, the guys in the back will say a whole nother thing. It's just like us on podcasts. We have our own different little rules. So the wrestlers had their own different rules. But as far as that was controversial out off every side of the board when it comes to the Montreal Screwjob. It was controversial with the fans. It was controversial with the backstage. It was controversial through the entire wrestling world. When you really look at the fans, when they see the fans, I'll say, you really look at the fans when they see the curtain call, they see it as the curtain being pulled back. But it's like, oh, okay, now I know the truth about a little bit of thing. Not too bad, not too sad. You know, it's just the curtain being pulled back. I now know what I feel to be real at this point. It's like my confirmations what I thought wrestling was have been well founded. It's sort of like the NBA, but predetermined. It's like, yeah, these guys be trying to beat the crap out of each other in the middle of the ring, but in reality, these guys are friends behind closed doors. They travel together, they eat together. They just can't do it in front of us. When it came to the Montreal Screwjob, the curtain got ripped off, not just pulled back. They ripped that curtain off and threw it out the window, and you could see everything in there. Because remember, before Montreal, we didn't even know Vince was the boss. I didn't know Vince was the boss. I was a mere child. I didn't know Vince was the boss until the Montreal Screwjob. Not to mention, man, to this day, Shawn Michaels cannot go to Montreal without them doing that special chant. We will not say it on the air, but you cannot go to Montreal to this day, him nor Vince, without the Montreal order. You're saying you blank Brett, you blank Brett. You can't say. I mean, he cannot go. Remember the promo he did in 2005 when he was going up against Hulk Hogan, scheduled to go up against Hulk Hogan in SummerSlam.
Oh yeah, I remember that match.
Yeah, every time Shawn Michaels goes to Canada, and this happened over. I mean, in 3 years, it'll be 30 years since that happened, and people are still saying that to this day. And not to mention, man, it started. I mean, not to mention, the Montreal Screwjob was universally the thing that shifted the Monday Night Wars in the WWE's favor, because it started off that whole rivalry with Vince McMahon and Stone Cold. Because remember what he said after. Not just the Brett screwed Brett. You remember what he said at the beginning when the Rumble was there. If Stone Cold wins the WrestleMania, wins the the WWE Championship, he said it will be a public relations nightmare. Then it started off. And I mean, that even set the stage for the press conference, because remember at the press conference, they asked Vince, hey, you really didn't want to see Steve Austin win, did you? He's like, no, but he's the champion right now. So, fun fact. There was rumors about, I don't know if you ever seen it. I think we talked about it at one point. You remember there was rumors about Shawn Michaels not wanting to drop the belt to Stone Cold.
I don't know. I didn't hear that. I heard Brett say that Shawn didn't want to drop the belt off to him at WrestleMania 13, and Brett questioned Shawn's integrity and Shawn, to his credit, he had a legitimate knee injury. Didn't he tore his ACL at the time?
Yeah, he tore that all up.
Yeah, but a lot of it has to go with Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, the rivalry. Not a lot of people at the time like Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, but to piggyback off of what you're saying, he did not want to drop the belt to Shawn. He did not want to drop the belt.
He didn't after
Stone Cold.
Right.
He didn't want to drop it to Stone Cold either. And Vince had a trump card, so to speak, when that happened.
What up, Brandon?
What's going on?
He said, because if you go to any interview on the internet right now, the Undertaker confirms it. He said if Shawn didn't drop that belt to Stone Cold, there was going to be a special appearance by the Undertaker. He had his hands taped up.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember that one. Yeah. I remember that one. But Shawn, he had to at that point. He had to drop the belt, not only because of that, also too. Shawn had a serious drug problem, and that back injury, which he suffered from the Undertaker at the Royal Rumble, a ruptured disc. And Shawn was heavily medicated prior to that match. Had to take cortisone shots. He had a serious drug problem at the time. So Shawn felt like, look, I need to go hang him up. And to Casual point, shout out to Casual, he made the argument which Shawn Michaels was better, the 90s Shawn Michaels or the 2000s Shawn Michaels. But the curtain call, man, like that's a huge one, champ, for me. Even though the Montreal Screwjob, you can't go wrong with either one. But it cost Triple H from square one Like he had to start back from square one, and it took him a while. And then when Kevin Nash, you look at Scott Hall, they were going to leave for WCW, and Sean at the time was the champion. I mean, but you can't go wrong with the Montreal Screwjob, considering the fact that Vince promised Brett, I'm open for anything. I'm open for how the way the match is going to end and stuff like that. But Brandon, what's up, man? How
Yeah.
you doing? We doing a more controversial debate. The click with the curtain call or the Montreal screw job? Which one is more controversial to you?
I'll say the Montreal. I'm gonna say the Montreal. That had the most controversy. I'm not even not gonna lie, in my opinion. That's the one I remember though, but I don't think I remember the other one.
The click with the curtain call, you know, where Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, known as the click. You remember when they broke character, when they were all wrestling each other and then hugging each other,
Oh,
and
that's what it is.
yeah, the curtain call.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm still going the other one though.